Hi everybody, this is Mike Gauthier coming to you from the magnificent One Elgin restaurant in Ottawa at Canada's National Arts Centre. I am honored to have Chef Sheila Flaherty with me. Chef, thank you so much for being here and welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're a really fascinating personality to me and I want to talk about all kinds of things, but I'm going to start small. Can we talk about this weekend's event and the food that you've planned for us with Kenton?
So yeah, this is an extra special time for me. I've missed Ottawa, first of all, and it's really great to be back at the NAC. This coming dates of September 25 and 26 is a Chef's Table concert series. It's the last of the 3 weekends.
Looks like we're going to have nice weather too.
Yeah, I understand that it was chilly last weekend.
But not 2 weekends ago.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're going to cross our fingers.
But what's chilly for Ottawa mute, people in Ottawa, is not chilly for me. So it's...
Well, to what point has Ottawa been a part of your life? I mean, how well do you know the city?
I grew up here.
You grew up here?
I'm an Ottawa girl.
So when did you go to Iqaluit?
In May 2010.
Okay, so 10 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what prompted the move?
My husband.
Ah, okay.
He tried to live with me in Ottawa for about 2 years.
Okay.
His home community is Grise Fiord, Canada's most northerly community. And he missed hunting so much. His older brothers would constantly communicate to him, you know, I harvested a seal, caribou, whale. And I remember someone saying, well, you know people in Kitigan-Zibi, can't you just go hunt, can't he just go hunt there?
Yeah.
And I said, well, there's no seals in the lakes up there.
Right.
So he implored me to follow him, and I did.
Okay.
And I haven't looked back.
Okay, so now let's get back to the menu there.
Yes.
Sorry, I cut you off. You started talking about Ottawa, and I was wondering to what point you were connected. So yes, for this weekend's menu, what do we have planned?
We have a delicious menu. We're featuring fish from Nunavut. So I'm really, really pleased with that. It's really important for me as an Inuit chef to feature Inuit food, and especially Inuit food coming from the territory that I am now a resident of. So
right.
The menu will expand from the Chef's Table concert series this weekend to a broader menu that Chef Kenton and I have worked on through emails and phone calls, and I'm really excited about that menu especially.
How long will that menu run here?
I think it will run for about 2 months.
Yeah, that's been our experience, I think, so far. It's been like 6 to 10 weeks there in that kind of window there. This isn't good now, because I want to talk about the move to Iqaluit. So now, you know, you're an Inuit chef. You weren't 11 years ago, obviously before you went there. So when you got there, did you just come in contact with all of this culture and all these products and said, okay, this is a part of me that I need to explore? Like, what happened? What was the evolution of that for you?
Yeah, thanks for that question. So I followed Johnny, my husband, and I knew he was an expert hunter, and I didn't really know how that would all equate, but quite quickly I found out that our freezers are continually stocked with harvested and hunted foods. Coupled with moving to Iqaluit, there's only 2 restaurants there, and there still is only
people.
And there still is only 2 restaurants.
Oh my God. Okay.
So their menus are we call Ottawa down south. Yeah. Like I'm down south right now.
We're Southerners.
Yeah. But their menus are down south menus, like pork ribs.
Kind of like standard Canadiana.
Yes, yeah. So Ottawa has amazing restaurants like One Elgin here, and so, you know, I've always been a high functioning amateur chef, a home cook, but you know, if I felt the urge for Japanese or Jamaican, you know, I didn't have to make it at home necessarily. I could go to a restaurant here in Ottawa and have that, and have what I'm craving. It's not the case in Iqaluit. So my solution was just to make dishes that I was craving, and what better food to use than the foods that
From
my
there.
husband,
So he actually went and hunted.
and he's turned me into a proficient hunter. I'm a pretty good shot. I harvested my first polar bear just a couple weekends ago.
My God, that must have been a thrill.
It was amazing. It was so humbling.
How big was the animal?
6 foot 8 inches.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And how did you know what to do afterward? Like, you know, how do you, I mean, I guess your husband helps you with the
Oh, of
harvesting
course.
of the meat and the
Oh yeah.
transporting of the carcass, and, you know, like, you got to know what to do once you have it.
That's true. With any animal, the easy thing is to harvest it. The real work comes afterward. Butchering, skinning.
So I'm curious to know what the culture is around the animal once it's been killed and once it's been brought back to the community.
When we harvest the animals and the mammals, we eat a lot of mammals, sea mammals, and certainly we don't like wasting anything. Any resource in the Arctic where the climate is so challenging and frigid for the majority of the year, we as a culture, we've traditionally tried to maximize the use of skin or the fat. We use rendered fat for the kulik, the stone lamp with the wick. That's either made with seal fat or whale fat. Certainly for seals, we use the skin. For kamik, for parkas. The polar bear that I harvested, I didn't butcher it. I didn't skin it. Like, I was amazed looking at my husband. He's harvested many a polar bear in Grise Fiord, where he's from, and I was just amazed at his skill level. We have it frozen right now, and then we will prepare it. I'll get women to help me,
Right.
other Inuit women, because it's not like a seal skin. It's a big hide, and you need to work quickly with the hide before it dries and everything. So I'll have other Inuit women help me flesh it. I guess that's the English word, and then we'll put it on a drying rack, and it'll dry. And I haven't decided if I want to mount it because it is my first Nanook, or if I want to make polar bear pants. Polar bear pants are the warmest pants to wear when you're out snowmobiling and hunting in the winter.
Right.
I'll give you an example. There's a fishing lake about a 200-mile trek from Iqaluit. My husband goes usually with one of his brothers around Christmas time. Iqaluit is right at the ocean, at the sea level. It was about -50, -55 without wind at home. Where they were going to the fishing lake, it's higher elevation, so I could just imagine that the temperature must have been around -60-ish.
Oh my God.
All for Arctic char.
I feel so warm now.
So, and I haven't gone with him on those trips to get Arctic char because
you don't have your polar bear
I don't
pants.
have polar bear pants. So there's a generation of people that have lost the skill and the knowledge of making sealskin kamik. It's a very intricate process, and it needs to be, because these are the boots that we wear, and that we still wear. So we need them to be waterproof. And so the stitching is really important. So all the skill sets. So over the course of, I think, 2.5 months, we went 3 times a week.
Okay.
And there was about 20 of us women. And now we all know how to make kamik. So it's just really amazing to be Inuk and to live in Iqaluit and to come into my own and really be hands-on with my culture.
Yeah.
You know, I've always been Inuk all my life. So, but growing up in Ottawa, TI has been around since I think the late '80s, and of course my late mom. You know, sharing stories of her upbringing in the Western Arctic. You know, but it's I just feel so blessed.
So it really felt like a homecoming for you.
Yeah.
When you went back there. This is kind of a, I don't know if this is an unfair question or not, but if you had to give a definition of Inuit cuisine right now, like what would you say about it? Like, well, how would you describe it to me? Like, is there a growing season per se up there? Is that just too far north? Because I know, like, you can harvest berries,
Oh,
and
yes.
you know, like, there's a harvest season.
Yes.
I take it. When is that in the year?
Okay, well, different times of the year
Okay.
Dictates what can be harvested.
Okay.
So when I left home to come here, the cranberries, we had a first frost not long ago, and cranberries are the last of the Arctic berries, and they're ready after a first frost. They're ready to pick and harvest. So certainly berry season is coming to a close. We harvest seals all year round in open ocean with our boat or on the sea ice with our snowmobiles. Geese come in the springtime, and they leave pretty soon, although I saw some in the canal yesterday. So some have already left the Arctic. And that's another animal. When we harvest geese, there's 2 layers of feathers. So I pluck the top layer off and I keep the down. And I haven't used any of the down over the years, but so I have like a really big box of down, but I'm going to be all set to make something. It's mostly meat and fat. That's our main diet, and berries. But we like the natural flavors of whatever we harvest. So there's traditionally there's not a whole heck of a lot of herbs or seasonings. Although there are some. I'm learning of. I harvested some blueberry leaves.
Oh, cool.
I went to a trip to Nuuk, Greenland, and we actually worked on seal in a new way. The event was called New Arctic Kitchen, and there was 5 of us chefs. This was in November 2019, and the whole premise of the 8 days in the kitchen was to experiment with new ways of making seal meat and making it more palatable for people who think, oh, it's not really for me.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's so easy for all the ingredients I just listed to go, oh yeah, I don't want to try it, but I actually do. I just don't know how, you know, and I also don't know how to get it. Are you developing relationships with the suppliers too? Because I know you're part of ICANN as well. I know you're. You sit on the board. You sit on the board. Is that what it is? You do there?
It hasn't. Wow, you know a lot of things.
Well, you know, I want to ask you decent questions, and I
Very excited. I haven't took part in a board meeting yet, but there's one upcoming. But to be an Inuk chef, to be on the board of the Indigenous Culinary of Associated Nations, working with the likes of Chef Joseph Shawana, Chef Cezanne Nottoway, Mr. Bannock in Vancouver, Krista, I know I'm forgetting one of the names, but
it's only been 2 weeks.
Yeah, you know. So, but ICANN came out of the Indigenous Tourism Association of Canada, I think last year. So it's a really new body, and I think the work is really going to be fabulously exciting, especially for me, because as an Inuk chef, the foods that I work with are Inuit foods. Like, I wouldn't think to put sweetgrass or
Okay.
I wouldn't think to work with moose meat or you know, because that's not.
It's not
Inuit.
indigenous to that area.
Exactly, yeah. So the way I prepare geese, it's not like the James Bay Cree prepare geese, and I would love to try how they.
What do they do?
It looks like I've seen it in documentaries. They hang it from a string, and they roast it over a fire. But like, I wouldn't necessarily prepare it that way. First of all, we don't have trees and wood up in Nunavut, so
Yeah, yeah.
So a lot of my cooking isn't over the fire like a lot of chefs are doing in parts where there are trees. So
Right.
what I try to do is I try to take our traditional Inuit cuisine, which is very natural tasting, and sometimes I create fusion dishes that still respect the natural integrity and the flavor of the food. So that's basically what I like doing. I'm getting ready to hopefully launch a business called Sijakut.
Okay.
And because of COVID times, I want to start small, so I want to work on a website and offer pre-orders, suppers,
Yeah.
and have it for delivery only. I'm all about preserving and promoting Inuit culture through our food. I'm really excited. I think it will go over well. Going back to my trip to Nuuk, Greenland, with the other 4 chefs. One was a Greenlandic chef, and there were 3 Nordic chefs.
Okay.
And I was simply amazed in my time there. They have a hunter's market, and Iqaluit doesn't have that. Or anywhere in Canada's Arctic, it doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't make sense.
But it's beautiful because we walked in to the hunter's market, and there was stainless steel tables, and harvesters were right there. So they've modernized a traditional life practice into an economy. Yeah. And I want to help foster that back home.
And with this idea of takeaway, I think that's a fantastic idea. Mm-hmm. Because for someone like me who is genuinely curious about food, well, that's an incredibly safe way to try something, because you vetted it first. Mm-hmm. You know the culture, you know the cuisine, you know how to prepare it, and then you're saying, well, try this way. And I know I'm getting an authentic experience without having to learn all about it myself beforehand, you know? Mm-hmm. And wouldn't it be something if at one point we had those ingredients here in town?
It's possible. I mean, I understand there are some jurisdictions in Canada where seal meat, as an example, is allowed to be on a menu. I think Quebec and Newfoundland, I think.
Okay.
You know, I was talking with the government of Nunavut's Department of Fisheries and Sealing,
Yeah.
and then COVID happened, but there's an annual Seal Fest in Quebec, and I was talking with the manager in Fisheries and Sealing saying, we should have a Seal Fest here in the Arctic. There's all these things, the great initiatives that the NAC is having me here, having an Inuit-inspired menu for the Chef's Table concert series and the Chef in Residence. People are starting to tell me from home, stop traveling and offering Inuit menus outside of home. Stay home and make menus for us here. So it's coming, it's coming. So, but it just feels so wonderful for me to focus on a part of Inuit culture that's so huge for us. Food, we're so related to our food.